Welcome back to the I Just Love Footy YouTube channel, and while the opening round is yet to commence, I've officially declared the race to the Rising Star Award has officially begun. I think in 2024 we are going to have an amazing race when it comes to who ultimately comes out top in the Rising Star Award, and I want to talk about some of the Rising Star candidates that really impressed me in this bout of practice matches. First player that I want to mention, in no particular order mind you as far as pecking order, is Darcy Wilson from the St Kilda Football Club, selected at pick 18 in the 2023 draft, standing at 6'2", can pretty much do a job all around the grounds. I think today he featured prominently on the wing for St Kilda, and he fits their philosophy very well as far as Ross Lyon's concerned. A really hard runner, contests the likes of Bradley Hill. I think he finished second in his 2km time trial in the draft combine last year. Very competent on both sides of his body, left and right, and really just amassed the ball consistently across the game today against North Melbourne. He collected 24 disposals, had 7 scoring involvements, 6 intercept possessions, 7 contested possessions, and all the while doing that at 87% disposal efficiency throughout the entirety of the game. And if you watched St Kilda versus North Melbourne today, it was not a lackluster, go through the motions, just tick the boxes type of practice match. This was a game where for some reason, and not for some reason, but obviously we know what happened early in the game with Jai Simpkin and Webster, but there was some serious finals-like intensity. Forget round one intensity. There was a finals-like type of energy that was present throughout the entirety of the game. And that's what makes Darcy Wilson's performance even more impressive. He was able to do it under duress, high intensity, and didn't look bothered at all throughout the whole game. Moving on to the second player in Caleb Windsor, pick 7 for Melbourne. Now he had a really clinical game against Carlton during the week. I say clinical because he didn't collect a whole lot of the ball, but when he had the ball, he did things, and he moves very swiftly. He breaks out of packs at high speeds. In the draft combine, he finished third for the 20-meter sprint, and that was there to be seen in the game against Carlton. Both his goals from memory coming from breaking out of pack at high speeds and kicking the ball at a pace where you'd understand if he was to shank, but he managed to steady and kick well and kick 2 goals while collecting 11 disposals for the game. Something I must say I've anecdotally picked up on over the last few years is the seamless transition that some of these draftees are having coming from their draft year in the Coates National League and then transitioning into AFL. It does seem a bit more seamless, and I think maybe because there is that extra emphasis on skill and being able to dispose of the ball at a high level, and then tying that in with coaches identifying their strengths and putting them in positions other than their preferred position in the TAC Cup League. And that's where you see Harry Sheasel and Nick Dacos and next up Kobe McKercher and Harley Reid, who are probably going to be bona fide midfields once it's all said and done, but for the time being they are helping them bide their way off the half back line, whereas in years gone by you'd probably put those players in a forward pocket and it would stunt their growth and potentially completely curtail their career. Another player that really impressed me from today's game between North Melbourne and St Kilda was pick 4 from last year for North Melbourne in Xavier Dersma's brother, of course. He looked largely unbothered for the whole game. Usually playing your first game, albeit a practice match, you're usually a bit jittery, you're a bit toey, you rush your decisions, and your positioning might not be the best. But the thing that really intrigued me for Zane today was his capacity to take marks at the highest point. Now, he only took 1 contested mark as far as the stats were concerned, but some of the uncontested marks he took inside 50 were because he was able to cut across packs that Nick Larkey and Zerha occupied and meet at the highest point. Yes, uncontested, but he put himself in that position to take the mark and did that really well and kicked 2 goals today along with 14 disposals, and probably should have had another goal towards the end of the game. So another player that you should keep a bookmark on for this season's Rising Star Race. Moving on to pick 6 from the Western Bulldogs in Riley Sanders. He's been by far the standout as far as the preseason performances are concerned. A big-bodied inside midfielder who has been also accumulating a myriad of disposals in the pre-season thus far. Against Hawthorn, we saw him pick up 30 disposals, 10 scorer involvements, 10 contested possessions, 4 tackles, and is a beneficiary, unfortunately, of the Bailey Smith injury, and is probably forcing Beveridge to question whether Jackson McRae makes it into the side if he is in the end healthy for round one. It's amazing looking at how good Western Bulldogs midfield is and the prospect of how much better it can get with the likes of Riley Sanders in season 2024. The last of the bunch, but certainly not the least, pick 8 from Geelong, Jai Clark of the 2022 draft, of course. Clearly, there is a big gap that is needing to be filled in Geelong's midfield. Camp Guthrie is now injured. Paddy Dangerfield's getting older and won't be able to do it all by himself. Max Holmes is definitely is certainly staking his case. If they can get some impact from Jai Clark in the midfield this year, then that's going to help them go a long way into finding themselves back into the top 8. I'm going to read out some of the stats that he had against Essendon the other day. 17 disposals, 10 contested possessions, 4 clearances, 6 intercept possessions, 16 centre bounce attendances, just for those who are wondering how much he featured in the midfield, all the while going at 92% disposal efficiency. So he looked great. He passed the eye test, and then looking back at his stats across the board, he really ticked all boxes in every realm that a coach would consider when selecting their starting side for round one. If there was a Rising Star Race tally to keep track of, those 5 will probably be leading the pack as far as I'm concerned thus far. An honourable mention to the likes of Harley Reid, who, while he didn't play well in his first practice match relative to his second, did better in his second, collected 20 disposals, looked more composed, was able to find the ball more, shown bursts of speed moving out of the back 50, and did some decent work in the middle as well. Like I said earlier in the video, I really do think that these draft prospects that are transitioning into the AFL these days are having more opportunities to impose themselves in the games in different ways because of their improved ability with the ball relative to players coming in 10 years ago. And I say that with great respect, but the reality is, with all the new resources, the sports science, the strength and conditioning, the stats and data, it's really, I guess, accentuated the development of these younger players. And then, like I said, tie that in with what those coaches are able to do with those players, putting them in positions that are going to help them fast track their process rather than hinder it. I'm really looking forward to season 2024 as a general fan of the AFL. However, these performances from these young players over the last couple of weeks has just given me another narrative to invest myself in throughout this year. Please note, I'm doing my best to research all the young players that have come in this year and making sure I'm well versed across the ground. But if you feel like I've missed someone or wanted to add something to this conversation, please leave a comment in the comment section and we'll go from there. See you next time. Bye.